So I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Norwich Public Utilities Board of Commissioners and the Sewer Authority on October 26, 2021. In order to effectively run the meeting online, I'd like everyone to announce their name and title before speaking if they are joining us versus WebEx. And with that having been said, it is time on the agenda to have a 15-minute public comment period. In regard to the 15-minute public comment period, I'd like to remind everyone that this is a time for public comment. It is not a time for debates or discussion with the board members or with the staff or anything of that sort. We simply want to solicit your views. And any issues that are raised will be considered by the board in consultation with the staff at the appropriate time. And finally, we ask that people be respectful of everyone's time, and any public comment should be limited to 3 minutes. And with that, I will ask if there is anyone out there on WebEx who wishes to make a public comment. Once again, if there's anyone out there wishing to make a public comment, we would encourage you to do so now. And just one more time, if there's someone who wishes to make public comment, please let us know. And hearing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the NPU Board and Sewer Authority meeting of September 28, 2021. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Commissioner Peel, do we have a second? Sure. Sean? All those in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
I have to abstain because
Oh, I'm sorry. And we have one abstention. The next item on the agenda is information and updates provided to the board prior to tonight's meeting. This is material for your review in advance of the meeting, and we don't do presentations on it. What we do is solicit questions from any members of the board. So if there are any questions for Chris or the staff on materials that were provided in the board packets last week, particularly the leadership team template and the financial update, please do so now.
One question. Are we still on track for the schedule laid out into the wastewater treatment plants? It says we have 90% plans by 11/2. Is that roughly where we're at?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
We've received them already.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good.
And we just got approval of a change order today for some of the environmental cleanup, and things are progressing along, and we are hoping to get that out and bid by next year.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
that's asbestos.
Asbestos, PCBs, and all the other environmental issues.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, the next item is the CMAQ update. Commissioner Peel.
Well, thank you, Robert. All right, we have not had a meeting since our last meeting. However, the budget committee met on October 1st and October 15th of this month to discuss the Transco budget and independent compensation study for salaried employees, the current employee salary and benefits, the capital budget, and the CMAQ budget. And all that will be discussed at our next meeting on Thursday. There was an announcement made by CMAQ on October 8th. CMAQ announced on October 8th the signing of a definitive asset purchase agreement with Hull Street Energy for the sale of the 84-megawatt dual-fuel Alfred L. Pierce peaking generating station, known as Pierce, located in Wallingford, Connecticut. The sale of Pierce was considered this year with the known depressed value of the electricity capacity market. The forward capacity auction price, after reaching a peak of $17.73 per kilowatt month in 2015, has fallen continuously to about $2 today. and shows no immediate signs of improvement. The sale will result in a short-term loss of value, but an expected long-term gain as compared to continued operation at a loss. The board will vote on Thursday to ratify the agreement. The transition in Pierce from being a net positive and one of CMEX's better performing projects to a net negative project in only 6 years demonstrates the changing dynamics in the electricity generating market and the upheaval caused by having an abundance of natural gas-fired capacity. With the loss of Pierce, CMEX retains Microgen, transmission project number 1, Hydro-Quebec, and the Norwich diesel generator as net positive projects. And that's all I had.
Very good. Do we have any questions for Commissioner Teal?
Any questions?
All right, hearing none. The next item on the agenda is the Finance and Audit Subcommittee update. Unfortunately, Mike Goldblatt is not here. I think that I'm on the committee, so maybe I'll try to give a quick update.
Here's a brief summary here.
We essentially re-elected Mike Goldblatt as chairman of the committee. Mike is a distinguished accountant here in the city of Norwich, so he really knows his way around finance and audit. We talked about the line of credit update. Basically, a team of NTU staff and the city comptroller and treasurer have been established to issue an RFP for the line of credit. In the kickoff meeting we held November 12th. We've talked about this for a long time, but the benefit of a line of credit is that it is essentially a loan on the part of a bank or multiple banks that is already approved. It's already approved by the city council, and if we have an emergency need for the money, it can be drawn very quickly. And the other potential benefit for it is that there are some banks, particularly some local banks, that do not charge a standby or maintenance fee. They only charge a fee for the money if the money is in fact drawn and used. So if we're able to arrange that sort of thing, we'll have the standby availability of credit that we can draw on without it costing anything until we actually do, if in fact we have to do it. We went over the budget schedule with Laura and talked some about that, and we also talked about energy costs, which I think are going to be covered later in the meeting, so I skip over that. And we also talked about sewers, and that's to be discussed today in executive session. So that's essentially the report. And the next item on the agenda is the strategic presentations. We have two important strategic presentations this evening: the winter moratorium and the energy supply update. Chris?
Right, so this evening we have Ruth Swift here to go over the winter moratorium. Every year we tend to go over this to explain where we are with our hardship customers as we come into the November timeframe and when we are no longer able to terminate service. So we'll go into the program and all the programs that we have to help these customers who are our most at need.
I think the hardship cases are slowly coming down, right?
Hardship cases are going up, special payment rates are coming down.
Okay.
Okay, so the winter moratorium starts on November 1st. So we'll, can you go to the next slide? So we aren't regulated by PURA, but we do follow their guidelines for everything that we do anyway. receiving any state or city assistance, unemployment, social security, if there's a serious illness in the home, and of course, by income. We do send people to TVCCA now to be qualified, since we had closed the office a year and a half ago with COVID and all. So that helps to also get more people into that system that need assistance. So this is the chart of what we've had for hardships for the past few years. So you can see that the numbers have been going up, and we've already gotten a file from TVCCA for the coming season of over 600, almost 700 customers to be enrolled already. So I think that this year is going to be even more than we had last year. So one of the things that we do to give assistance to our customers is the matching payment program. It's an arrearage forgiveness program, so payments that customers make, we will match. This, you have to heat with NPU and qualify for energy assistance. Those customers then get any payments that they make matched by NPU. We don't have a great success rate with it, which based on other utilities, we're better than they are actually. But as you can see in the last couple of years, we haven't ended this year yet. It ends on the 1st of November, so I don't have the numbers for the 2021 season. But we usually end up with about half of the people that enroll getting credit on their account, bringing their account to a zero balance. And this is, again, a graph showing the matching payment program. We had a really good year one year, and the numbers, the axis, as you can see, only goes by 50, so it's not a great increase that we had, but 2017-18 was the best year that we had, and it's been dropping. More customers aren't consistently staying on the program. The other thing that we do is Operation Fuel. So we are a fuel bank for Operation Fuel. We take the applications, submit them for customers to get payments on their account. We had 70 applicants submitted for the fiscal year 21, and we received $22,000 out of Operation Fuel to assist those customers. And TVCCA is a huge help to us. TVCCA has a representative in our office from September through May taking applications for customers. It's been very helpful having her in our office. When we have customers that come in that are challenged, we can just send them over to see her, as well as customers coming in to see her if they've forgotten some documentation, they need a copy of their bill, that type of thing, we can help with that as well. On average, it costs us about $25,000 a year to have her in our office. This past year, we got a little over $1 million in energy assistance, and we've also recently received a supplemental payment of another $1 million to assist the customers. The supplemental payment was intended for those that heat with us, as well as those that heat with deliverable fuels. So we actually received payments from more customers than what we typically do out of energy assistance in the supplemental. Last year's supplemental payment was about $400,000, almost $400,000. So if the state has funding left from the heating season, they will put out a supplemental payment to add to the customer's assistance.
Yeah, so we don't have to pay for the TVCCA revenue, but we do so during our office. And by doing that, it makes the customers get immediate, feedback and able to apply immediately. And $25,000 brings back in over $1 million. So it's a great investment, and it makes sure that our customers who come here don't have to drive down to the TVCCA office. They get it done, and we get the money in the door much quicker.
And that's just for paying for like heating and equipment and stuff like that. You don't pay $25,000 towards the salary.
No, it's towards the south.
Oh, it is towards.
We pay to have a person in our office taking the application.
All right.
But it's streamlined it, and
Yeah.
we would not get nearly that much money. It was not easy for the customers, so it works.
And she's, even though she consistently comes back, she's essentially a temp for them. She's not a regular TVCCA employee that's employed out of their office. But she's the same person that's been coming back for years to our office, and they had hired her previously to work winters in their office as well. And she's a former state employee. She's retired.
And she gets not only energy assistance for us, but she's coming in with other social programs they may need. So it's really good for individuals.
Mm-hmm. And this is the graph of the number of participants for TVCCA. Usually it's about the same number. It has gone up this year. We've been driving more customers to them since we had closed the service center for COVID. So the numbers are increasing that are getting assistance. People that in the past would have just filed hardship and not gone for any assistance are now basically forced into their system to get assistance. So, and it's assistance that they need. They're just reluctant to go. You know, we have a combination of somebody else might need it more than me, and I make too much, I'll never qualify. So people just don't try. So that's definitely a reflection of moving more customers into their system, so they're getting the assistance.
Do they actually get the money and then pay it to you?
No, it comes straight to us.
Good.
It comes straight to us.
Is this program connected with the state program, United States?
No, this is, energy assistance is totally separate.
Coming soon.
Yes, energy assistance has been around, for years. I believe they started it sometime in the 70s. So it's heating assistance for residential customers, and, they also pay for deliverable fuels. We're fortunate that they're local and we have a great relationship with them, so.
Huge on everything that was talked about so far, just been talked about balance, all money outside the community. Other than that, none of that comes from the utilities of the community. All funding that we got from outside, millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It takes a little bit of work on our part, but it's well worth it, that's for sure. So the additional assistance that we have in the area, we have Unite CT. That it has been a little slow going. From what I understand, the application process was very cumbersome in the beginning. And so it gives the support for rent as well as utilities. So far, since it started, we've had about 209 customers for $145,000 assisted through this program. So the new program that's coming up is the ARPA funds. Norwich Human Services has $75,000 earmarked for utility assistance for that. We have agreed to also have a matching payment type of thing with this. Not as strict as our matching payment program. They don't have to apply for energy assistance. If they qualify through Norwich Human Services for this, then we will match the payment that they make as well. So essentially, if the customer makes $100, Norwich Human Services will pay $100, we'll pay $100.
And we'll be working on next year's ARP fund to make sure that we are represented through Human Services, and we may hopefully get more money from that next year through their request.
From the funding that she has, when I had spoken with her, she has a considerable amount earmarked for training, education, that type of thing, to try to assist people to get up on their own rather than needing the assistance. And then we have the community development block grant. That's administered by Norwich Human Services for the residential accounts, and commercial accounts go through the community development office. We've had 229 customers so far receive payments for that for $88,000, almost $89,000. Part of the arrangement, or actually a requirement of participating in that, was that we have to write off the depreciation amount of the rate, correct? So today we've written off a little more than $15,000 on these accounts. So the LIHEAP, Low Income Energy Advisory Board, that's where a lot of this state funding goes through. Energy assistance always goes through that board. We are a member of that board. I participate in the meetings. It's statewide. There's representatives there from Eversource as well as United Illuminating and all of the various state departments, consumer advocates, that type of thing. We meet monthly to discuss how we can help the low-income citizens of the state. That's how the energy assistance money comes through to us. And they're starting a new program. Can you go to the next slide, please? They're calling it LIWAP, and that is for water and sewer. And it will be beginning November 1st is when we're going to start taking the applications. They have to have everything done by June 15th, 2022. The initial piece of it is to restore services. So the first application they'll be looking to is to restore any service that's off for non-payment. The next step would be to make payment to prevent the services from being terminated. And then after that, they would review accounts to see if there's assistance to be had to lower the amounts that the customers have to pay. They'll pay up to $1,000 to restore the services, and they have a range of between $50 and $300 that they would pay to prevent services from being terminated. So, and that's very brand new. They just got the funding for it.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought we did not permitting service for water sewer customers. We maybe did for electricity and gas, but not.
Individual homeowners, if you don't.
Residential
customers, we do. Apartment customers, it's owned by the, by the landlord. So while we have a lot of people on energy assistance, we're not going to have nearly as many qualifying for this because most don't pay their own numbers to bid. But if you have somebody with a small single family home who is a hardship case, they will.
Exactly. It's low income, so if it's a low income homeowner, they'll get the assistance. But in general, most homeowners won't get the assistance.
Most low income people are in apartments as opposed to.
Correct. And it's not, the water's not their responsibility.
Is it, for the people who have terminated their electrical service, is there a program for them as well too? Or is it?
That's where the other programs come in.
Okay,
So this is the only one we have that is for water and sewer.
got it.
All the others are for the electric or gas. Energy assistance goes to either electric or gas, whatever you use for your heating source.
Yeah, and all hardship customers from November to
May
May 1st cannot be shut off if you're a hardship customer, no matter if they pay a penny or nothing.
But they do have to file for hardship, or they still don't know it's being terminated. And the last slide, these are the area agencies that we work closely with to get assistance for our customers. Many of these have other areas of assistance as well. So United Way, Norwich Human Services, they also have, food banks, they have diaper banks, prescription services, things like that, that maybe they can't help with the utilities, but they can help in some other area that might be up $1,000 for the utilities. And again, we work closely with all of them to get them whatever information they need to get assistance with customers. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Let's get a good comprehensive program, and it sort of shows that we're a public utility.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. The next item under strategic presentations is the energy supply update.
So I am handing out the presentations for you right now. These are the presentations that we approved yesterday at the Finance and Audit Committee. There is a lot of detail in here. These are happy to be helpful. So I'll start with the gas presentation. we had talked about the PGA, the last couple of board meetings. Can we go to the next slide? So in April, as we were looking at our forecast, we were seeing that we potentially could make a reduction in the PGA for November 1st. July and August, those analysis showed that the volatility and the price increases would not allow us to do that. And as we finished our September analysis, we can see that there is significant cost increases as we go in through this winter heating season. Next slide, please. So as we talked about, there are several factors impacting the cost. The TETCO rate case, it had been filed, had been denied by FERC, but has recently been refiled. The annual impact to that to NCU cost is about $284,000. Additionally, pricing, market pricing, NYMEX has increased by from $296 to $482, which is 63%, or $1.86 a decatherm. Alcohol C8 pricing has increased from $675 to $1594, which is a 136% increase, $9.19 a decatherm. And the LNG markets are running at about $30. Their average historical was 10 to 15, so doubled to tripled in some cases. We did, in order to mitigate some of these pricing impacts to NCU, execute an extension to with our asset manager through October of 23, and that would increase our payment from them by an additional $439,000 over the next 2 years. So we go to the next slide. On the next slide, you'll see the expense comparison, and if you go to about 3/4 of the way down, you'll see the total purchase gas cost. In April, we were forecasting $6.5 million. Once we finished our September analysis, we're looking at $9.2 million for the purchase gas cost, an increase of about 40%, $2.6 million. So we have a couple of options in order to mitigate these cost increases for our PGA. So our first option is to maintain the current PGA. This would have a negative impact on our fund balance, a $1.75 million decrease in our purchase gas fund balance over the next 12 months, at 16% level of recommended level. So definitely a negative if we do not make any changes. And if we don't make any changes now, then in the future, the change would potentially be significantly higher. And also, it would be counter to market signals. If we are making an increase in PGA when prices are going down, customers get very confused when we would do something like that. So option one, the chart that is coming up next, you can see the PGA amount is the blue bar, leaving it flat. The black line is our fund balance, and as you can see, as we go across the next fiscal year and out through 24, so the next 2.5 years, that balance plummets. So this is definitely not our recommended course of action. So if we could go to the next slide, option two. What we're recommending is an increase to PGA effective November 1st. This will allow us to recover gas costs over a longer period of time, all the way out through fiscal year 23. So keeping that PGA amount stable for a longer period of time. Is increasing it will mitigate that depletion of our reserves. And based on our current forecast, this will allow us to meet our fund balance targets as of fiscal year 23, and potentially as we move into fiscal year 24, reduce the PGA. Again, based on our forecasts and market behaviors. So if we can go to the next slide, we can see the chart. We are currently at the second step. What we're recommending is that third step up, where we would maintain that level for the rest of this fiscal year and into next fiscal year. And as you can see, that black line, while trending downward for a shorter period of time, does then trend back upwards and meet our target dollar amount for that fund balance. So the impact on customer bills, the average residential gas customer, so specifically just gas, we've seen impact 6.6% increase. That includes both the base rate change that's going to be effective November 1, and also the PGA change that would be effective November 1. So the PGA would increase from just over 27 cents to just over 36 cents. And even with this change, we're still competitive with the investor-owned utilities. We're within 5%, but their PGA is subject to change, and they are seeing the same market pressures that we are. I'm going to move right into the electric presentation, and then wrap up with the impact of all of this to our customers. So when we looked at, purchase power, last year in August of 2020, we got our approval for our rate track, and part of that plan was to move a portion of the purchase power cost from the PPA and into the base rate. That was a little over a penny per kilowatt hour. This would then be resulting in a reduction in the PPA, but a change to the base rate. This would recover the same amount of dollars, so our revenues for purchase power would be the same, but it would just be a different construct inside the rate. Based on that in August. However, as we're looking into September of 2021, we're anticipating a 13% increase in purchase power costs for fiscal year 22. So if we can go to the next slide, factors impacting the electric. So as we've discussed many times before, a lot of generation in the electric, a lot of electric generation is driven by natural gas costs, but the natural gas market is significantly influencing the electric market. Storage levels for natural gas are about 13% less than last year. Local demand for LNG has increased, and an alternative to natural gas is oil. The price for oil has increased significantly from last year. In December of 2020, it was $50 a barrel. In September of 2021, $75 a barrel. And we've all seen that impact as we go to the summer. Again, other influences on the market would include weather predictions. Currently, right now, they're forecasting a colder than normal winter, which is impacting market behavior. So on this next slide, you'll see similar to the gas expense forecast, this is electric. Again, 3/4 of the way down the page, purchase power costs in April were forecasted for fiscal year 22 at $23.5 million. Our September forecast shows us at $26.7 million, which is just over a $3 million increase, for about 13% in overall cost increase. So our choice for the PPA. Our original plan was to reduce the PPA by that little bit more than a penny, and there would be no changes to rates other than the base rate changes that are going into effect for November 1, which is on average 1.5%. But what this would be a reduction in our purchase power fund balance by about $4 million in fiscal 22. And we would need to make an increase to the PPA in July of 22. So we can go to the next slide, we can see that chart. So the left-hand slide, the bars are the PPA, and you can see where we are right now stable. That short drop, that would be the drop in accordance from our plan from last year. But what that would necessitate is an even larger increase in fiscal year 23. And then again, a drop in fiscal year 24. So based on our forecast, we would have a lot of instability in that PPA, which is something that's very challenging for our customers. Having predictability in their utility bills is something that's very important for our customers. So what we are recommending is the option to hold the PPA through fiscal 22. So instead of following our original plan from last year, to leave that 1 penny per kilowatt hour in the PPA, this would result in about a 9.9% increase in electric charges, inclusive of the base rate increase that is effective for November 1. And based on our current forecasting trends, we would anticipate being able to reduce the PPA in fiscal year 23. Again, based on market behavior, that's what we're seeing right now. So if we can go to the next chart, on the left-hand side, keeping those bars the same for the PPA through this current fiscal year. And then as we move forward into the next 2 fiscal years, there's the potential of dropping it based on the forecast at that time. Again, the volatility of this market showing us how important that monthly analysis and monitoring is. So from a customer impact, maintaining the PPA at its current rate, which is a little over 3 cents per kilowatt hour, it's an $11 per month increase to the average electric customer. So if you're just an electric customer, you'd see about a 9.9% increase. That still puts us very competitive with our investor-owned utility neighbors. We're still at about 6% less than they are. But we also anticipate that their PPA would increase in January. They set theirs twice a year, in January and July. And given that this is not just a Norwich or even a Connecticut issue, this is a national and a global issue with market impact on direct energy, we anticipate that they would increase their rate for January.
Laura, if we're keeping the rate the same, the PPA the same, why is that considered an increase? Is that just relative to what we were going to do?
In what we PPA is here. We were gonna do this and do this, but instead of doing that, we're gonna leave it here, so overall, we're gonna recover more.
Okay, so
For the
the increase is
extra.
based on the plan,
Yes,
but it's not an increase based on people are paying today.
correct. The rate itself will stay the same, but our collection of power
Okay.
cost recovery is gonna be higher. And so impacting to the customer, if you're just an electric customer, you'd see approximately $11 average residential customer increase, so about 9.9%.
But that'd be an increase to a savings that they never got.
So so what it's really doing is it's shifting that penny from the PPA and into the base rate.
Yeah.
So instead of shifting that penny, I'm gonna leave that penny in the base rate
Yeah.
and leave it in the PPA. So it's actually bringing their rate up.
So you gotta remember, three years ago, we had a 3-year rate increase, right?
Okay, so,
Or rate track.
so the $11 is the 1.5% that we're increasing the rate.
The 1.5%
Got it, okay.
plus the energy cost.
Let's get it close.
Yep.
Got it.
So it's a combination effort there.
Right, thank you.
Next time we need to make a change to the PPA where we're shifting those dollars, I don't want to plan that for a year out, but we'll learn.
I know.
The market volatility is definitely something that, between COVID and just energy markets, it's definitely something that, was not, predictable. So,
That was my final question, but continue.
sure. So if we go to the next slide, we can look at what the impact is on an average residential customer. So if you are a core-service utility customer, and we increase the PPA, maintain the PPA at its current level, which does have that total impact, along with the base rate changes for November 1, a core-service average residential customer is going to be seeing about a 7% increase. The impact there is 4% because of energy and 2.93%. The rate track we had already approved from last year. So approximately $23 average customer would see per month increase. Questions? I know you have more to do.
I have one thought. Not in this. How much do we understand the gas market? I realize that COVID kind of threw everybody off, but hopefully COVID's on the decline. Do we understand everything that's happened in the last year and a half is how we got here? Because it was totally unexpected. Right? Right? We're expecting gas prices to keep coming down or just staying down at $3 a decatherm forever, and
Sure.
all of a sudden it went haywire.
So part of the impact there is production. Last year when demand basically plummeted, production ground to a halt in many areas where they just stopped bringing the gas from the well out into the market because there wasn't any demand for it.
Okay.
Now that demand is starting to come back up, some production started, but they haven't brought all of it back online because is this demand a blip or is this going to be sustainable? So until it's financially prudent for them to bring everything back to market, we're still going to see this. And the forecasting that we're seeing is a terrible amount of volatility for the winter, but as we look out at future years, or in future periods, it seems to stabilize again. That being said, it's still challenging because it is a market and it is volatile and there are a lot of different moving parts.
But the high oil, the low oil prices and low gas prices last year when there was no demand are now, both are taking off again. And when you look at, you don't because you drive an electric car. You're a little insulated.
I couldn't even tell you what gas prices are anymore.
Yeah, but they're going up.
Don't even see the sign anymore on the station.
So, the other factor, I think, and I don't mean to be political in any way, but, there was a cutback in oil production, and carbon oil production, because of the pandemic and because of less demand, and people shut down their rigs and all of that sort of thing. And the price of West Texas crude, for example, which is the main oil price, went up 116% in the last 12 months. But now, the part of the problem is, and again, this is not a political statement, but again, with all of the talk about green energy and getting rid of oil and gas and shutting it down in the next 5 years or 10 years or whatever, whether that's accurate or inaccurate, needed or unneeded, I don't know, but it is causing a lot of people to say, I'm not gonna make a big investment reopening my rig or finding new rigs, if I'm only gonna have, 2 or 3 or 4 years to get my investment paid back. And so that's another big factor.
But when you're looking at, on Thursday, when you're sitting in the CMEC meeting, you're gonna see the same story. And this is our CMEC projections are based in this.
Yeah, exactly. So, it just seems like there was all this unexpected or unknown consequences when the pandemic hit. And I keep hearing stories about how, well, everything plummeted, but then it didn't in some cases. So you had, the thought that demand was gonna come crashing down, but then people kept on going, and they found ways to keep on going. We're reading all these stories now about, the whole supply chain got messed up because they lost containers. Well, they didn't really lose containers. Containers got trapped in countries that had nothing to send back. It's the craziest story. So companies demanded a whole bunch of PPE. It came from China in a container to a country that had nothing to send back to China. And you can't send an empty container back. So it just sat there. Next thing you know, people are running out of containers, and they can't ship things anywhere. This is the nuttiest thing I've ever heard in my life. Just send them back. So all these crazy little things that we did were just a little bit out of the ordinary, just threw the entire market into chaos. And that's kind of where we're at, it seems like.
Yeah,
I mean,
the supply chain side of our business is just as bad. Transformers that used to be, 2 to 4 weeks are now 6 to 9 months. Everything is, more out of whack than almost the time period of the pandemic. It doesn't make sense, but we're feeling it in every piece of the business.
Trying to get a question.
No, I was just saying, just in my day-to-day, supply chains are out of control within the next probably 2 weeks. You'll start to see the shipping start to, get back into abnormal times. With FedEx, they've already, DHL, they've already issued warnings already, whereby, mid-November, you probably won't see anything delivered to you by the end of the year. So, on a small level, I feel the impact anywhere, when it comes to the supply chain, especially a lot of the business that we do in China and Asia. We haven't gotten a delivery in like 4 months. So with that, not surprised that these prices are where they are. And because DHL has increased their shipping costs by 35%. So, internationally, we have 2 manufacturing, just off the record, sorry. But the gas prices have gone up for fuel by 35%. So what would be a $75 shipping charge now is well over. Yeah, absolutely. So, so with that, it's true. Yeah, it's very true what you said.
So it'll sort itself out, but we have no idea when. It'll just.
Which is why we monitor it every month and see where it's going and how it's going.
By next year, we'll be fine, and maybe not.
Yeah, the futures markets show it leveling off, and dropping, but the future market changes every month, right? So,
Are we seeking a new normal? Well, fight our taxes, we'll see.
We already had $2 gas, right? Well, maybe $2. They couldn't make any money with $2 gas,
The
right?
interesting thing is that $2 gas is like 2010, $2, $3. Before that, though, I was 14, it was 2 from 92 to 2000, and then it, all kinds of volatility in 2010. So, we've seen it before.
They really couldn't make a profit at $2. They were just barely making a profit at $2. That's true. Okay, so that's true. So they're kind of recouping some losses there.
They'd like to have $4.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Gas.
Well, okay, well, we could live with $4. If it was $4 all the time, we could live with it. I suppose we could adjust to it.
New normal. Yes. And that's part of what we're trying to do with the PPA and the PGA, is to maintain some period of time stability so that it doesn't do that to our customers.
Minimize all that impact.
So, let me just make sure I want to say that the new change starts November 1st?
November 1st.
Okay, cool. So we should expect to see that change November 1st.
So any bills rendered on or after November 1 will be based on all of the new rates.
think it's important for us to remember two things. I mean, one is the budget that we have control over is cost of our staff, of our service, of our distribution facilities, of our capital expenditures, all of those sorts of things. And we've limited them substantially for the next 3 years, to basically less than what the current rate of inflation is for the next 3 years. With the exception of sewer, which, has to accommodate the, rebuilding of the sewer plant. And the other thing to remember, I think, is that we make no profit or no excess revenue or whatever the term you want to use on the purchased gas amount or the purchased power amount. We pay X number of dollars and we increase our rate by X number of dollars. So, this is not a case of us taking advantage of our customers or any of that sort of thing. We're simply passing along costs to them that we incur at the same level.
Any other questions?
Oh, good job.
All right, thank you very much. The next item is to potentially go into executive session. And executive session to discuss confidential, trade secret, and commercially valuable confidential or proprietary information not subject to inspection or public disclosure pursuant to section 1(2)10(5) and 7(2)32)A of the Connecticut General Statutes. This information is commercially valuable, confidential, and proprietary, and is not for public disclosure pursuant to Public Act number 98-212, and to discuss personnel matters of an employee or employees and/or public official pursuant to Chapter 14, Section 1(2)06)A of the Connecticut statute. While I catch my breath, we have a motion to go into executive session.
So,
Thank you, Michael and Bill. All those in favor of executive session signify by saying aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? We are in executive session and the vote is unanimous.
All right, for the executive session, I'd like Steve, Jeff, and Chris Riley to say that.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we are gonna have to,
Hold on 1 minute.
do a little focus here with the,